Today is May 19th, 2022. My name is Steve Tadolini, a former student, colleague, and more importantly, a mentee and friend of Dr. Syd Peng in Morgantown, West Virginia. As many of you will know, Syd is the Charles E. Lowell Chair of Mining Engineering Emeritus at the Department of Mining Engineering, West Virginia University. Syd started at WVU in 1974, and we will get into details of that incredible 28-year run as the department chairman. Syd is also a member of the U.S. National Academy of Engineering, elected in 2006, and continues to actively participate. But he's probably most well known for the creation and successful operation of the International Conference on Ground Control and Mining, which started in 1981 and held annually, with the 41st annual conference being held this year. We are doing this capture for the American Institute of Mining, Metallurgical, and Petroleum Engineers Oral History Program. Thank you, Dr. Peng, for agreeing to talk to us today and share your experiences. So let's start at the beginning. Tell me about where you grew up and what your early life was like.
I was born on January 27, 1939, in a very remote rural town in the Midwestern Taiwan. I got about 7 brothers and sisters in the family. My father was a carpenter, and my mother was a housewife, and I also have my paternal side grandmother lived with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was born in I would call it a somewhat broken home, rented from our neighbor. And whenever it rained, it leaked. The roof leaked, the wall leaked. I had to do a lot of things to bail the water out of that. And when I was young, really, I do a lot of household chores to help with the family. For instance, we don't have a running water at the home. So every day I got to go to a spring well, maybe say 1 or 2 kilometers from the home, to carry the water back home for the family use. Also, my grandma, he raised chicken and duck for her business. I think he earned some petty cash for that purpose. And during the daytime, he put all the chicken and duck outside, just right outside the house. But during the night, he was afraid of being stolen by outside, so he moved the chicken and duck in the living room. So every day, every morning, when I got up, I have to sweep the floor, whole house, including all those dirty dropping left by the chicken and duck. The other thing I also do my grandma wanted me to do is every day after school when I got back home, and he would ask me to go to the paddy field, which is about 3 kilometers away from home, and she wanted me to pick up the lotus leaf, also catch the fresh frog in the paddy field, that to bring them back for the chicken and duck. But since Taiwan is warm and in the winter and hot in the summer, so every time after I done with the work, I jump into the river. The river surrounded the paddy field, and play around it before I go home. And that's why I really like swim every day. And in fact, since I come to West Virginia in 1974, I swim every day. Even now, I swim every day.
You swam today?
Yes, I swam, yeah.
If I remember correctly, to continue your education beyond junior high, you passed entrance examinations to 2 schools, Taipei Technical Junior College and Taizong First Middle Senior High School. What was going through your mind, and who or what influenced you to become an engineer?
Well, the Taiwan, first let me talk about the education system in Taiwan is quite different from the U.S. And the way they go is from every level. For instance, from elementary school to junior high, then junior high to senior high to college. Every level you need to pass an examination of the school that you want to get into. So when I finished my junior high school, I took 2 exams to do school. One in the north of Taiwan, Taipei Technical Junior College, and the other one is in the mid-Taiwan, which is Senior Taizong Middle School. And I passed with them, and I was admitted to both schools. Well, the bottom line is I choose the Taipei Technical Junior College, and that's 5-year mining engineering program. I think my father's goal was to have me as a college graduate, and certainly I want to do too, because I would be the first generation to go to college, go to university. So I figured out if I took the technical junior college, I need 5 years to finish to get my degree. And then if I go to the middle high school, middle senior high, then go to college, I only need 7 years. So the 2 more years there, I need to pay more the 2 more years tuition and school expense. I think that's a lot of burden to my parents. So I figure I don't want to do that. And so I choose the Taipei Junior Technical College. Now, what I didn't know, and my father didn't know then, that technical junior college, that's not the same as a college. You don't get a degree, you only get a diploma. We didn't know that back then. So that's what we choose technical. And also, we were from the small school in the middle of Taiwan, and Taipei Junior College is a big city school. So the teacher advised us, they say the mining engineer had less competition, so you register for that. Well, that's what I choose mining engineering program, 5-year mining program. Well, it turned out when the school started during student orientation, the teacher told us that there was about 600 plus took part in the examination for the mining engineering program. And I ranked number 3. And that was really good. I was tickled to that.
Your first job after 18 months of military service during the Vietnam period was at Shinchu Coal Mine Development Corporation. What were your duties, and is this what led you to your passion of coal mine safety?
When I finished the college, in the Taiwan government require you to do the military service. So I served about 1.5 years military service and retired from the Army in January 1961. And then in February 1961, I took part in the placement examination by the government, and I passed it. So they assigned me to Shinchu Coal Mine, which is a government-operated coal corporation. And the mine is located in mid-central Taiwan in a very remote area. Now, I mean remote because it's isolated from the rest of the world. There's seldom people going into that. So in the Shinchu Coal Mine, when I reported to work, they assigned me as a junior mining engineer. My job was going to the mine every day, go to the mine phase, took coal sample, and come back to the laboratory to analyze what type of what composition, any change, all that thing, and whatever the people will make any decision about what the coal is supposed to do. Now the coal mine in that in the Shinchu coal mine, there are 3 portals. 2 portal is right around the headquarter area, and the 3rd portal is the newest one. Is almost every day an hour walk from the headquarter, and it's a very mountainous slope you have to walk down there. And the mine portal is in a very steep valley, a slope. And so what they did is that when they have a slope from the surface following the dip of the seam, which is about 20-25 degrees, and all the way into the mountain. So about every 100 meters, they develop a drift, which is on both sides of the slope. The problem with all this mine there is the gas outburst. Once it's outburst, it's just like we call the rock burst. The gas, the coal ejected very strong force, and a lot of people get killed. In fact, when I worked there 3 years, there were 16 people get killed because of the gas outburst. And then Route 402. Now the other 2 portals near the headquarters has a better safety factor, but not much better. In fact, I came to the U.S. 1965. The mine total has 16 fatalities. All this story, fatality, injury, the outside world didn't know that. Yeah. Because it's so far away. So that's why I really, it really shook me a lot. So I wanted to investigate into what is thin seam mining, what is gas outbursts, and can we do something about it? Now, in the 5-year mining engineering program, we read all the U.S. textbook, element mining. I think at that time I remember by Clark or Lewis, but never mentioned about thin seam mining, never mentioned about gas outbursts.
Well, eventually you applied and were accepted into the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology in Rapid City. I can only imagine that trip to the U.S. coming from a small town in Taiwan. Can you tell us how you came about this opportunity, who influenced you, and how you came to the U.S.?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to study the thin seam mining and the gas outbursts and how to control it, and to help the mine to reduce the fatality of the thing. So the first thing I know at that time is go to Taipei, the U.S. Information Service. And they have a big office there, and a big library there. So I went through their library and dig in. I wanted to see if there any literature there I can use. Well, I found nothing about it, but I did find the U.S. Bureau of Mine. The U.S. Bureau of Mine was doing research for mining for the U.S. So I wrote a letter to the director in D.C., Washington, D.C. I explained to him what I wanted to. I wanted to ask him if he can help. The director didn't respond, but it was I remember well, William Kranz. He is a branch chief in the headquarters, and he responded to me. And so we started communicating. And every time he sent me a lot of the U.S. Bureau, IC, bulletin, all that. But none of them really can help me on the thin seam mining or gas outbursts, all that. So I asked a lot of more questions. I guess he probably bothered by me by all these questions. So he told me, he said, why don't you come to the U.S. to study for yourself, and you can find the solution better. I said, that's a good idea. Well, that was a very a kind of dream thing, you know. And so he applied to, I mean, he got 2 admission for me. One is South Dakota School of Mine, and the other one is University of Missouri Rolla, you know. But I heard the University of Missouri Rolla has a lot of Taiwanese students. And many of the non-mining class has a lot of Taiwanese students there. Well, I figure if that situation could be just like Taiwan, I couldn't help my English at all. So I told Bill Crane, I'm going to South Dakota because it's a small school. I think I will have more chance to improve my English, you know. Even though South Dakota at the time I know pretty well is in ranking wise is much lower than University of Missouri Rolla. You know, that's how I went to South Dakota.
Did you take any internship or have other experiences during your schooling that shaped your interest in the mining industry?
Yes. And you can, you know, in retrospect, you can see I was so unprepared and I was really doesn't know much about it, everything. So I arrived in U.S. I remember South Dakota's school, May 5th, 1965. So the school is about 2 weeks from summer school. So when I went to see the Professor Osher said, yeah, she said, he's welcome to the school, but he said, school is over in 2 weeks. He said, it's summer, we don't have summer school. I don't know what you can do, but if you want to study, I can give you a book or 2 and assign you, we can reading it. You can read it, start reading, prepare. But he said, but it wouldn't count for your degree program. Well, I figure it doesn't help me in the degree program, and since I need money for the school, so I say I want to go to work somewhere. So I wrote a letter to Bill Krantz and asked him to help. Oh, he responded right away. He told me, yes, you can come over. So I came to his laboratory with the BethEnergy Coal Corporation in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And so that took me another Greyhound bus from Rapid City, South Dakota, to Johnstown, PA, and his laboratory do this coal sample analysis, and believe it or not, it's exactly the same as I did in Taiwan, you know. So really, it didn't help me that much in terms of professional development. So after the summer, I went back to the school. After a year school in the summer of 1966, I found a summer job with the Homestake Gold Corporation in Black Hill, which is about 50-minute drive from Rapid City, South Dakota. I work in underground first, which is about, and I remember at that time it was 7,000 feet deep, and the place is so hot, you know. People working there is really bare because it's so hot, you know. But then about 2 or 3 weeks after, they pull me out, say, well, we have this geological exploration program. We want you to do to go there to help us. And so they transfer me to the surface. And then in the surface, I was as a team leader. Every team had 2 person. We just go around in the Black Hill along a assigned route and take sample, soil sample, and bring them back to the laboratory. Also analyze how much gold content would be for the exploration. you know. The group, and at that time, I wanted to mention is the group was consistent mainly from Stanford kids. Stanford, I call the kid, also the Stanford professor. They are really very knowledgeable. I was very impressed, and so I become a very good friend. We become a very good friend. The graduate student and professor too, and so in this respect. This summer job, it's not as much as what I was want to doing as my career, but I have to say the money I make it really helped me out. Otherwise, I couldn't finish my master's degree in one and a half year or something, you know. And,
Yep.
yeah.
When you completed your BS and MS at South Dakota, how did you end up going to Stanford University for your PhD? You mentioned that you had some colleagues that worked at Homestake. So how did that take place?
Yeah. Well, before I came, when Bill Kranz asked me to come to U.S. to study for myself, at that time, I figured myself, I think I need to get my PhD degree. I want to get a PhD, but I need to get it in within the 5 years because mainly is a money consideration because I have to borrow and my family has to borrow all the fund for me to come to the U.S. to study. One more years, one more interest, one more expense, all that kind of thing. So I decided that my plan is 5 years to get a PhD first. Second, I figure out that in one's career, the highest degree he earned usually carry with his career, you know. So I figure out if I go to South Dakota School of Mines, that's a small school, nobody knows. If I say I graduate from South Dakota, probably my career, a lot of people wouldn't think, where is the South Dakota School of Mines? So I figure my PhD school where I get, it should be a very good big one and a reputable one there. And when I work in summer in the Black Hill, that, as I say, I know this Stanford guy, professor, but the team leader, Woody, I think Warren Holtz, and he's a team leader. He's a geology professor. And he was nice. Before we leave for school, he told me, he said, he liked me. He would encourage me to apply Stanford, and he would be very glad to recommend me for the school. So when I go back to school in the summer, I started studying what is the Stanford at that time. So I found out if I wanted to study the ground control, at that time is really actually is rock mechanic, right? So if I want to study rock mechanic, applied mechanic, I need to have a very good, strong background. Geology too, because it's rock. I'm not a rock mechanic. So I studied Stanford. I found a Stanford, boy, it ranked number 1 and 2 either. I applied mechanics, computer science, geology, geophysics, material science, all that. I said, that's a good school idea, what I need to go. So I told Woody Holt, he recommended me in there. Well, actually, in the school, he made School of Earth Science. That's how I get in there. And this is my only school I apply. Yeah.
Probably the best thing that happened at Stanford is you would meet Felicia, whom you married while in school. Can you tell us a little bit about that courtship and share some stories of you and Felicia at Stanford?
Yes. Stanford is a landmark in my career, really. No, Felicia and I went to the same school in Taiwan, Taipei Technical Junior College, and graduated in the same year, 1959. The only difference is Felicia, she finished her senior high and then passed the examination, get into the college. So she only need 3 years, the 3 year. I finished junior high, and so I take the 5-year mining engineering program. She take the 3-year textile engineering program. So we graduated same year, 1959. Now, Felicia is very well known in her 3 year in the college, because he is very active, and she excel in the extracurriculum. And she was on the university track and field team, and she was a university choir, and all that. So almost, I would say, everyone in the school knew her. In fact, she was they call her the campus queen, you know. So, but on the other hand, I would say I'm a unknown soldier.
So then you saw her at Stanford.
In April, when I went to Stanford, in one of the Stanford Chinese student activity, I saw her. Of course, I recognized her. I don't think she recognized me then. You know, we never communicated. I figured, oh boy, she was, it's a lot of student after her. I didn't want to compete on that case, so I never talked to her. It was very surprisingly, in about a month after, I got a call from her, and she said, I bought a new car. And she said, you know how to drive. Could you teach me how to drive? Boy, I was flattered. You know, I accepted right away. I said, yeah, sure. So afterward, every day after school, you know, I went to her place and escort her and coach her. The driving all this. But after the 2 weeks, I just proposed to her.
2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah. And in fact, she asked me, okay, she said, did you do everything? Did you do this to every girl you met? I say, no, I think it's different. To you, it probably is very strange. So I'm a very bold. But to me, you know, I knew you 10 years, more than 10 years. You maybe knew me as 2 years. But she accepted that. She accepted that explanation. And then when she told her father, that's where the problem started. And her father never approved it. He opposed all the time. Mainly, you know, in the Oriental system, the family tree is very important. She is from one of the richest family in Taiwan. I am from the bottom of the poor's group. So her father opposed very strongly, vehemently, would never. But she insisted. She never gave up. You know. So after a year, her father gave up and agreed that, you know, we get married. So we were married right away. I remember very well, on June 14, 1968, at the Stanford University Church. And I say one of the most magnificent wedding ceremony at the Stanford University Church history. And because the pastor, the presiding pastor told us that. But Felicia planned everything. And we still have that wedding book with us, and he planned everything recorded there. So after the school, after the wedding, we become so famous in the university now. Our apartment becomes the center of the Chinese activity in the San Francisco Bay Area. We seldom have ourselves because we always have visitors. But Felicia always entertained them. And she even presiding the China night for the Stanford University. I was about 2 months before we left Stanford.
So what was your first engineering job after you completed your PhD at Stanford?
I think I finished my PhD dissertation past the defense in June 1970. And then early August, I reported to work with the U.S. Bureau of Mines Twin City Research Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
As a research engineer. At that time, I was doing the basic rock behavior study, in the rock physics laboratory. But at that time, the rock physics research mainly, the rock mechanic research really pertaining to or restricted to laboratory study. Or the most they have done is some rock mass study, It really has nothing to do with mining at all. And the first thing we do there is, before my time, really is the so-called servo control testing machine for studying the rock behavior from the whole complete stress strain curve history, that kind of study. Actually, the MTS system, servo control testing, right now is a standard testing system. Actually, that time was developed by the Twin City Research Center in the laboratory in and so I use that system, develop, conduct research, done a lot of research, publish a lot very quickly, and I guess I improved the center director. And within, less than a year, they put me in charge of the rock physics laboratory, which is the largest group in the center. And at that time, also, Dr. Ferris was in Minnesota, and of course, he was at that time a big shot in rock mechanics, And so I went and visit her, and knowing her. And also know her, her 5-6 PhD student working on the. So we arranged a joint seminar with them, 1 week there and 1 week there. So I say I learned a lot from him in terms of how to, how he promoted himself and how he was become so famous in the rock mechanics field.
How did you end up getting the teaching position at West Virginia University?
I guess in 1973, about 72, and several things happened that really remind me myself that, my original purpose come to the U.S. is really doing some study to get some solution for the Taiwan coal industry. But after I finished the school with Felicia, I owe so much money. So the only thing I do, after I finished school, the only thing I remember is I need to find a job make money to repay all this loan. So I forgot it. That's why I went to Twin City. That's the rock research. So in 1973 or something, the two events remind me that, well, what I came to U.S. for. One is U.S. Bureau of Mines, the headquarters has a personal change. And I think, Jim Scott become the assistant director of mining. And he wanted applied research. He doesn't want fundamental research, and which Twin Cities Center happened to be purely fundamental research. So Jim Scott, the force director, and put a lot of pressure on them, wanted Chamber right away to apply research. And since the staff always used to fundamental research, so they really had a problem. The second issue is, the second thing that happened is in 1972, the Arab oil embargo prompted the U.S. Congress to develop the so-called energy independence policy. And in the policy, coal played a very strong role because the abundance of coal in the U.S. So that reminded me that, well, it's time for me to come back to really what I come to the U.S. for. And it happened. The mining engineer, the classified ad, it's just a 1 or 2 line sentence. You say, great opportunity for mining research and teaching. I say, yeah, that could be. But it didn't say anything, just 2 lines. So I sent my resume in here. I forgot completely about it. And then one night, midnight, I was sleeping, and the telephone rang, so I pick up the telephone, rang. The other side, well, later I learned is Dr. Kelly. He's the dean of the School of Mine at WVU. Later I learned him. He said, well, you have a pretty strong qualification. Would you like to come to interview? So he explained to me what the WVU's mining program was. I said, okay, I'll come. So we set up the date. And I hang up, and I went back to sleep and completely forgot it. And so the day come, and the same midnight, the telephone rang. And Dr. Kelly said, you didn't show up for the interview. Well, I said, gee, I said, who is that? Who is this? And he said, Kelly, and all those things. Then I realized that I forgot us. But he was very nice. We set up another day for the interview. But when I came here, I was so impressed, completely changed my attitude to WVU, because you look around campus, it's all coal mine. Everything is surrounded by coal mine. I said, this is where mining research is supposed to be. You're teaching and research. This is where it's supposed to be. And at that time, really, I had another offer from Stanford. Stanford wanted me to go back to Stanford. I said, Stanford in I think Stanford in San Francisco. What for? That's not where mining is. And then the Dr. Kelly, in order to attract me more, she offered Felicia's job too as a research engineer. Well, that's it. And when Felicia said yes, he will come with me, that's it. So we came July 1974, reported to the school. But at the time, Dr. Kelly, because the school expanded, he hired quite a few, 3 or 4, 3. I would be the 4th young engineer and young faculty. But the others, the 2, 3 faculty, always fight with him because they don't like his management style. So pretty soon they left. So there's about four faculty left, including me. And so Dr. Kelly appointed me as I said, you'll be the chairman. I said, I'm not here. I'm not here to be the chairman. I don't think I know how to do that. He said he didn't listen to me. He just sent a memo out to everybody. So I was the chairman, mining program in January 1979. Now I was the youngest one. And I don't know anything about teaching. I don't have any teaching experience then. But anyway, once I accept this job, I work very hard, really. When I say I work very hard, as a chairman, I teach 2-3 courses, do the chairman work. I also teach 2 or 3 courses and do another 2 or 3 research projects at that time. So very soon, all this senior faculty, 3 or 4 of them, I convinced them, I want them over it, and that's how I stayed at 28 years. Nobody challenged me,